Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Sergio Dominguez with the season 27 commentary of the Sergio Show. Okay, so here's the thing. This is a pretty interesting story. So after season 26, I took about a month off to work on a couple other projects. But I tried to get to season 27 soon. And I already planned for, what was going to be like for the next 100 episodes. And originally, season 27 was going to be these list of ideas that I had. But I was like, at the time, I haven't done a theme season in a while, since a year ago, since production of the last season that was themed. So I looked at my plans and I'm like, you know what? Season 28 was going to be the theme season of time travel, as I have listed. But I decided, you know what, let me switch it. Season 28 will be season 27, and season 27 will be season 28. So this was going to be the time travel themed season. For instead of season 28, it'll be 27. So that's how I got to this season. And throughout this whole thing, it was a lot of things in the way. And a couple other things, but it was a little bit crazy. It was a little bit crazy production for this one. So I tried to start production in September after I finished season 26 in August. But in September, I only managed to do one episode, and it was this one that you're watching right now. Took a couple days, was not bad. But I want to do the rest of the season in September and also in October, but I couldn't at the time. I couldn't. I recorded dialogue for this episode like over a year ago, but then when I got to the rest of the season, I was like, no, I'll get to it when I get to it. So there was a point in production where I only had audio recording for this episode, and it was done. Then I couldn't really work on the show the rest of September, and I couldn't work on the show in October. October was so busy that I just did not work on the show throughout October, and I ended up cramming in 9 out of the 10 episodes, the rest of the season, in November. Things got really hectic at that time, but I managed to surprisingly finish the rest of the season in a month, less than a month. It was crazy, but yeah, this episode was calmly built in a couple of days. And then there was a period of time where I didn't work on the show, and then when I worked on it, I just blasted through it. But yeah, there was no dialogue for episode 262 to 270. I ended up recording dialogue for the rest of the season in October 17. That was the only day that I got to work on the show in some way, shape, or form. But that's how the dialogue for 262 to 270 came out. So yeah, it was a little bit nutty. And also, I ended up also reorganizing the episodes because it was going to be every episode a year, a decade. Like 2010 was going to be 1910s in 261, but then I changed that to just the intro and exposition of this themed season. And then I had to cram a couple episodes into decades into each other. And I wanted 270 instead of being the 2000s to 2020s now. I decided to just have it be the epic finale where I take care of all these ugglers. So there was a lot of reorganizing. Like this episode was 2010s and 2020s. So it was that. So let me first also talk about why I came up with the time travel season. Well, I was thinking of theme seasons while I was setting up another 100 episodes. I did the holiday saving episode season, and I wanted to do time travel again. I missed when the character did time travel, but I didn't want to do the old way. I want to give him a little bit more purpose, other than what it'll be like to be that kind of character. But that was aimless when I did that version. Here it's a little bit more aimless, but still there is a purpose why he's doing this. He's being a hero, trying to save time and existence in the animation, even if it is frantically put together, very frantically. But it was fun. It was fun doing this. Doing all those and seeing the different styles and see how quickly I could do it as much as possible. But let's see. This one was fun since I still have the same puppet rig of 2010s. By 2010s, I mean 1910s. I was off by 100 years. Me. There's a nice cameo for me that you won't see until the next episode. Yeah, I got some dogs around the house. Yeah, a couple of dogs in the office, but they're okay. But let me just get back to commentary this season. I did it. So yeah, this was fun. Just trying to do this, bring back that old style from an old style to this, and try to be more heroic about it. So yeah, this was a fun episode to make. All of them were fun. I think the last couple episodes were stressful, but the next episode and the episode after that, I can't wait to get to. But yeah, I remember to start off slow, like about 3-4 episodes were starting off slow, but then I just zoomed into it because I got the hang of it and I was getting anxious, and I made this during November, like I said, 262 to 270 all throughout November because October was busy and crazy, but you know, it's okay. But this was a fun little episode. I didn't have to do any really recordings, a little bit, but not a lot. And I had to make it up again as I went along with this one. So that's why there were barrels and just doing all that stuff. But the next one was also fun. Okay, in this episode, I was going to the 1930s. I was obviously going to use classic me. I brought up a plot hole that didn't matter now. But, so when I got to this one, I was like, okay, let me do a couple of gags. And I thought of this image, which you're going to see coming up, of this one really nice gag. And we'll get to it, but I was like, oh, I want it to be centered around this gag, which we'll get to see, and it was fun. Another thing I want to bring up right now is the background that you see. All of it was drawn on marker, and originally it was going to be different kinds of the same image, but varied a lot. And then we played as a cycle. Originally, that was also being done in the beginning of the episode of the season, but it looked bad. It looked too frantic. It looked like it would be headache inducing. So I was like, no, let's just be a still image, and I'll have a color gradient thing go by. So that was the idea with that one. So for this effect, obviously use the film effect, but they didn't have it for color film, so I took the same filter, put it on a white background, export it, bring it into the same video, and just color key it out. So it can still be a old film filter while still being a color video. So that was that effect. Yeah, this was all improv, all 9 out of the 10 episodes. 262 to 270. Here comes. Oh, I love this image so much. I drew that on pencil, then I scanned it and outlined it digitally, and I was like, this is good. This came out some pretty good gags, and I really love how I look. Like yeah. In 30s cartoons, it had that effect of that perspective. So I thought it came out great. Yeah, this came out really well. The episode coming up also came out really well.
Well, that was surprisingly fun than I thought. What do you think, Time Lord? It's only gonna get more difficult. And tick-tock, it's still sticking. Yes, yeah. Well, I'm just gonna end this episode and get to the next one. Alright, everybody, that's all for this episode of my show.
Excuse me for drinking water. But yeah, ultimately this was a fun episode. A lot of these episodes were fun. I think the weaker ones, in my opinion, were 265 and 266. But we'll get to that. But yeah, this one was cute, very cute. The next one is probably my favorite, but we'll get to that pretty soon. But yeah. I remember I was like, originally I was gonna do 5 episodes in November and 5 episodes in December, but I knew the holiday season it was gonna be tough, and I was like, I'm kind of doing this faster than usual. Maybe I could finish this in 1 month. So
Sergio Studios.
That was essential. My dog growling in the background agrees. So this one, this episode. So again, this was the 40s and 50s. They were going to be separate, but then I put them together. Yeah.
We're just still trying to continue
Yeah.
these little time jugglers so I can.
So, like I said, the season premiere was gonna be 1910s.
So, Lord of Time.
262 was gonna be 1920s, but I was like 10s and 20s.
Seriously, what kind
And
of but anyways,
yeah,
the
265 to
50s era.
270 were just
Oh, cool.
just
So,
either merged or rescheduled.
yeah, let's get
This one's merged.
Whoa.
Not like how it came out. This one had some hand-drawn animation in it, but obviously I was in a rush, so this is the best I could do. Obviously, with 1940s and 50s, arguably the best era of animation when it comes to stuff like this. So I had to recreate that, but do it in this very small amount of time. So there were some moments of hand-drawn animation and some cartoon craziness. Pardon me, I'm playing fetch with my dog.
Let me help you with that.
But while I play fetch with my dog, I'm doing the commentary. Ah, yes. This shot took a while, but it came out really good, and I love it. Boom! You know, even if I can't hand draw the whole thing, I can obviously do some puppet rig effects and tweening, and at least one or two cartoony poses here and there, like I did in the previous episode. But yeah, this one took the longest, probably 4 days. Oh, I love this shot too. I drew that in my artwork. I'm like, I gotta make it like that. That swooshy running effect. So, yeah. Since a lot was improvised, if not all, there were some lines that didn't make it, or some lines I had to cut out. In this case, I was gonna show you, you know, that whole thing of like, oh, over there. But I was like, I don't want to do that. It's gonna take a while. Let me animate them inside a tree, and it's gonna be done off camera, but inside a tree, and I can just animate this tree doing cartoony things, and it came out really well. I tried to do as many cartoony effects as possible, especially for this episode and the era that it is. So that's the best I can do. I took out a line where I give the Zuggler a cartoony smooch. I was like, nah.
I got him, you see?
I remember I improvised a lot of lines for this, but a lot of them didn't make it. But this is my favorite episode of the season.
Anyway, that's all for this
Everything else
episode
is
of The Sergio Show. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.
Yeah, this whole season was such surprise, time crunch. You get it, Chunks? Time crunch? Whatever. But fun episode, one of my personal favorites of the season. Yeah. I know, awkward silence, pardon me. I'm just thinking about the next episode, because we're going to be in the middle of the season, and it is something.
It's the Sergio Show.
Alright, this is going to be the 50s, but I made it to the 60s because the 50s also was cartoony, so I merged that with the 40s of the previous episode. I was getting really tired and burnt on a lot of things, and one of them is like the way I can introduce myself going down this time portal. But it came out just fine.
Anyway, Time Lord. Yeah, next one is like the 60s, right? Correct. Huh, this is where it gets a little bit difficult.
The Time Lord. I want him designed to obviously be similar to the Holiday Lord, where it's just like this winged being that doesn't need a mouth, so I don't have to spend time animating the mouth. Me. And it was trying to. I was trying to also think of weird variant ways that the Time Jugglers would destroy time. Some of it would be like the Master Time area or the Beacon of Time. There's a place with a lot of clocks, or bombs. So I tried so many different ways to capture and set up the evil Jugglers. And I came with the name because I was like, let me think about it. Then I did a research on the name. Nobody thought of it. You know, when I searched Zuggler, it was like, you mean this? But it didn't came to be, so I used Zuggler. This one's classic, because it had simpler animation since it was the 60s. So it was a quick animate, but even then I want to do some funny things, and I did. And it came out very simple. I think it was a couple days.
Best way possible. Here it is. The ultimate time juggler trap that I can afford in the 1960s animation budget. And... Huh. I did it! I got the time juggler! No, I just wanted to eat all time in existence.
Yeah, I did a lot. Believe it or not, I did a lot of animation sheets in this one. All my episodes have animation sheets, of course. But this one it had some very basic animation style to it. Since it was the 60s. Maybe I should have used some kind of grain, TV grain or fuzz, but I was like, nah.
So little time.
It's fine.
Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below. And let's see what other era am I going to get to catch these time jugglers. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I am Sergio Dominguez saying, have an animated day.
More awkward pausing. There's both a lot and not enough to talk about with this season. But it was a very basic season, and I want to do a themed season where I save something. And I had the idea of going time traveling again, but instead of the old way where I had my own time machine, I just had this being take me there. I think I did recordings for this, like back in May of 2020, but I don't think I liked it, so I redid it, and this is the best I could do.
Sergio Studios.
I was recording, I was like, do I have enough ideas? But when I get to eat up, obviously each episode I'll focus on a little bit more and try to build upon it, so that was the thing. Alright.
Hi. It's the show
We
again.
are in the 70s era. Originally going to be the 60s, but we just did. So this was the 70s. And I realized it was too similar to the 60s in certain things. I used some of the backgrounds and some other things. So it was a little bit off, but
What was that phrase again? Rugi?
I think I
Yeah, Rugi. That's the phrase
did something
of the
unique.
70s, right?
Obviously, it's based on that popular cartoon series from the 70s, which was also popular in the 60s.
Whoa.
But since it was like reusable animation, I didn't have to take that much time with it.
And it's eating all the
Yeah, it had a lot of elements and assets from the previous episode, which is fine since the same production company inspired animation from that era too. This could have been merged into one, but the way I had the whole season lined up, it wasn't going to work. Even though in hindsight it should have been, but then I couldn't fill out the season properly the way I have everything scheduled. But that's an animation error right there. Oh, I can't believe I kept that in. But you know, animation errors were surprisingly common back then, I think. I'm trying to remember. I think 80s more so, but it happens. I think when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I'll keep it. Nobody cares.
Old man
that's
time
good.
juggler.
Old
Yeah,
man
that's it.
Zuggler.
I'm just trying to alter time of the 70s, and apparently eating all these clocks
Yes.
made me really go far out, man.
Little bit of blinking.
Would've
Those are the kind of jokes I never expect
Or
during
feel
writing, but
millennial.
I would think of it during production,
Millennial?
in animation or editing.
You know that.
So I never worry if I write a script or create something that didn't have any jokes in the dialogue, because I can add jokes during production and post-production. That's something I learned like a decade ago. So this is a decent episode. All these episodes are surprisingly short, but it's okay for this season since it's one big whole, but it's still 10 episodes.
Oh, groovy. Oh, that's the phrase. All right, sorry about that, folks.
Alright, at the time I was down to the wire. I had, Thanksgiving, but I managed to still work on all this during Thanksgiving break. But it came out all of it fairly well. This is surprisingly similar to season 26, where I was like, let me start off slowly. I did one episode 1 month, one episode another month, and then 8 episodes in 1 month. It was crazy. Here it's like 1 episode 1 month, and then 9 in 1 month.
Sergio
Oh,
Studios.
I keep doing that to myself, but I don't think this is the most episodes I've ever done in 1 month. 9 in 1 month. I think I did 10 in 1 month. I don't remember. But everything's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I was like, let me be red. There you go. I'll use that color effect. I don't really use that often. I just use the fade effect.
Sergio with the show and still trying to capture these jugglers.
It's like, yeah, let me be red.
You know.
Oh, another thing I want to bring up, because I was on a time crunch and nobody cares. Not enough people care, I guess.
Whoa.
It's I cut back on the lip syncing. I let Toon Boom do the work.
Oh
I-
no.
I try to add some effort by putting the T shape, the T sound, the teeth close a little bit in some shots. But since we're in that era where animation was simplified, I didn't have to focus on the lip sync that much. And also, I think the lip sync from Toon Boom is a lot better than it used to be, just because I have better audio quality. Because it doesn't measure through mouse sounds, it measures through the volume of the audio, and it works better if the audio is really good, which it is. So it works well. And the Zugglers don't need articulate mouths too, so it was no problem for me. And the Time Lord did need a mouth. But I do like this. I had to re-record, not re-record, but I cut a lot of lines. I didn't like how the 80s businessman was getting away with too much, so I just rushed, re-recorded a line. But yeah, this one was decent. A lot of the drawings were done in marker. Here's the re-recorded line. Well, whoa! And I drew that real quick. A lot of it in marker and, like I said, scanned in. But yeah, I re-recorded this and I was like, oh, I'm getting exhausted. Like I am right now. But don't worry, everything's fine. So that was a simple episode, but I did capture each, like, a little bit of essence of each era of that decade of each episode. That was what I was trying to do, a little bit. Not all of it. I couldn't cram a bunch of references. Again, time crunch, and that's not really the point. It's just, I need to capture these Zugglers. And I got to think of so many ways to capture them. And here I am. I'm surprised I found out so many other ideas. But yeah, fair enough episode. There was a little bit of hand drawn, but in the line work. Sergio Studios. Like I said, the previous episode was going to be the 70s, but it was the 80s. And this one's going to be the 80s, but I made it to my favorite decade, the 90s. Oh, but I was thinking about this, again, yeah, what else can I really do in this case? But, we all get it. We all know it's me, even if it is in text form. Try to think of as many gigs as possible. But when it came to the 90s, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I love this era. What's really flawed about it? And I just thought of, it was creator-driven era, but there were some cartoons that were too creator-driven. The creator-driven concept was a challenge back then, so that's what this was about. Nothing about, the 90s cliches of totally radical. But in this case, I made it a little bit more personal. I love the background. Again, that was all drawn in marker, like this thick marker that left these nice, like these scratched lines. This is my favorite background. Yeah, like I said, it was done in marker, and I think marker that was popular in the 90s that I had, and I just made shapes, and it's supposed to be reminiscent of this cup from the 90s that had that design, that like dry brush marker like design with some shapes. And that was the art style of the 90s. I think I captured the art style of the 90s so well in the most simplest way possible. Oh my gosh, I just realized the Zuggler's like clock thing isn't moving. Oh well, it was supposed to be constantly moving. I guess in this shot it isn't. Or in the other shot, but who's keeping track? I should have, but it's okay. Yeah. But there is some subtlety, like the Zuggler has gradient color on him, and it does wiggle a little bit and boil. Yeah, let me just flop on top of him. Originally, I was gonna beat him up. I was gonna beat that character up. It was gonna be a long-winded scene of me beating him up, but no, just flop on. Let's get to it. It's fine. Dark parts of what you enjoyed in your childhood. There's a lazy word on the screen. I wonder what that really means. I wonder what it really means. Let me just add me have an anime day. We're good. That was the 90s. Also, a surprisingly good one. I do love that background. I know, the best part is the background. But I get to speak my little speech about creative freedom in animation in the 90s. Oh, that's cute. Very sweeties. Sergio Studios. Okay, 269. This one, when I got to this, I was like, I don't know what to say. It's an era that I grew up in, and I honestly don't know what to say other than everything was sharp, and just how it was. I was so speechless when I got to this, so I was like, let me do whatever I want and let me just monologue. Let me monologue about how I felt at the time and how I've progressed since this is the last stop until the season finale, and that's what came out of me. I do like that. It's so creepy, me, the drawing of me right there. Because I think I did an altered me in the previous theme season, so let me do it here. It looks like a big smear effect still. But yeah, that's the best I could do. Just zigzags and lines. There was more to it. I was gonna say like a cliche 2000s line, but no, I wasn't feeling it by the time I got to production. So I just said whatever and animated whatever and called it an episode, which is not the first time, as you know. So there's just shots of me walking and just admiring, even though the background just zigzags. Even in a cycle. Oh man, this episode. I hope people got something out of it. Oh yeah, I didn't focus again on the lip sync, but I don't know if anybody cares to see the mouth closed, so it's fine. The background right there is a special effect. I made a green screen. The character is animated behind a green screen, and that is an effect behind it of this motion that I did was yeah. I animated this one background going one direction, then I altered it in perspective in editing, copied it, then added a background color, and that's the background. It was super composed. That's a composited shot of me walking forward and the background moving like it is. So that's the idea with that one.
Devastating things, but more extraordinary things.
Yeah, just poses and movements.
And that's something I learned.
So this was a fairly quick episode to put together. But I get to season finale, and there was a lot of drawings. A lot of artwork went to this season. There's about 55 pages of drawings that I'll get to someday to show you. But yeah, this one I just kept it simple. Monologue, just get the Zuggler and get out. And then the Zuggler was like, okay, I'm giving myself in because of this. What the heck? You know? It wiggles a little bit. It wiggled! Yep. Again, have an anime day. Simple episode, very simple. You know, I don't remember what I said, but obviously a lot about progress and how far we've come, which is, I think we need a good reminder of that sometimes, about how far we've come and what we need to do to move forward. Alright, the season finale. Ah, beautiful. So again, this was going to be the 2000, 2010, 2020s, but I was like, let me make it the finale. Let me get this quick. Yeah. So that was it. I just improvised the way to destroy the Sugglers, how they were going to come together. A lot of drawings went into this, just, you know, set up drawings like that, and the way it was going to be destroyed. I redrew the plausible retract button. I drew that backward again with marker and pen. Think with that nice rough. But yeah, this is a nice device, and it was fairly simple, quick, but it came out really well. I ended up not re-recording, but adding a line of dialogue, because in this one I was like, I recorded the beginning part and the end part, but I didn't know what I was going to do in the middle. So when I got to it, I was like, okay, I know what to say. I know what to say and do, and I had the Zuggler be like, I can try in time. Time is inevitable. All that cliche lines, and I'll be like, no, duh. And I think this was also improvised, and the Zugglers joined together to become one big Zuggler. The Zuggler does get destroyed, but it won't be the end of the Zugglers. Let's just say they might come back in the future. They might come back in the past. Oh, I like how that big monster Zuggler looks. I didn't want to lip sync it, so I just did a wiggle effect, boiling effect. That's the added line that I did in the last minute. You know, it still came out really well. No, you won't. Duh. It is funny to add old recordings mixed with new recordings, but it still came out pretty well. That was a nice added gag. I was like, let me do it with my bottom. That was a transition effect. It's supposed to go to another scene, but I found a way to have it make it look like it disappeared completely. Again, reused animation from the last time, but yeah, all this was fairly quick because I was like, let me finish this before November ends. And I managed to do that, and I was surprised. But yeah, there you go. That's season 27 of the Sergio Show. A theme season, a simpler theme season, but I'm glad I get to time travel again. Oh yeah, that also reminds me, there were audio problems where I think when I recorded I went too far away from the mic a couple of times. So I did fix that by just moving the camera out, because you can still hear it. It just, you can hear the sound going far away. So a little added tip to that. So that's also what happened. But yeah, that was the themed season 27 of the Sergio Show. Originally 28, but here it is, 27. I hope you enjoyed it. I tried my best, but I'm looking forward to season 28 and beyond. I hope you enjoyed again. Thank you very much for listening, and all that good stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I am Sergio Dominguez saying, have an animated day. Thank you. Sergio Studios.